shining sands, I long for more. A salty breeze, a sweet embrace, underneath the sun's warm grace. Oh, the ocean calls my name, dancing tides, forever the same. In the twilight, the dreams are made. On this beach, I'll never fade.
March on the Washington coast feels like a season caught between two worlds. Winter hasn't loosened its grip just yet. Cold rain lingers in the air, and the wind moves in restless gusts. But change is coming. The ocean mirrors the sky, unsettled and shifting, caught between storms with another one already forming just on the horizon. The waves roll in heavy, churning up foam and scattering driftwood all along the shoreline. The sand is damp and dark, packed firm beneath the tires. In the back seat, Artemis shifts, ears flickering at the sound of the waves. She knows where we are. The second I slow down, she's already leaning forward, nose pressed against the glass, waiting for the moment she can run. And as soon as I open that door, Artemis is out like a flash. She drifts through the sand like an Indy 500 car, barely in control. It's honestly a miracle that she doesn't wipe out, but she is caught between that fine line between chaos and control. The tide moves with purpose, erasing everything in its path. Even in its unease, the ocean has a rhythm, steady, indifferent. When you think about it, there's something calming about that. Out here, the mind quiets. The weight of everyday life, pressure of responsibilities, it all feels smaller against the vastness of the water.
Oh, the ocean calls my name, dancing tides, forever the same. In the twilight, the dreams are made. On this beach, I'll never fade.
Some days, I come here with a plan. Other days, I let the day decide. Today is one of those days. No schedule, no expectations, just fishing, clamming, and cooking whatever I could put together. The only thing worth thinking about are the tide, the wind, and whether or not I could catch lunch. Before heading off, I need to top off my tires. The sand can be tricky to ride through, and having the right pressure makes all the difference. This little thing is the EAFC air pump. Compact, rechargeable, and capable of handling anything from bike tires to full-size truck tires. Set the pressure, hit the button, and let it do its work. It's nice not having to rely on gas station air compressors or cumbersome plug-in air pumps, especially when you're out on a beach like this in the middle of nowhere with nobody else around. It's small, compact, and convenient. And as a bonus, the pump can act as a power bank in a pinch. EAFC also has another product that could really save the day. The EAFC jumpstarter. It's small enough to toss in your glove box, but powerful enough to bring a dead battery back to life. And things like that matter to me because I drive a truck. I've been in this situation before, far from home with no one around. Just connect it and wait a few seconds. And just like that, you are back in business. And lastly, both products have flashlights. Thank you EAFC for sending me these two products to try out. Link to both products are in the description. Now back to the story. Alright, you ready, crazy? Artemis absolutely loves this bike. As soon as she sees it, she loses her mind, and she is ready for whatever comes next. The moment we set out, she's beside me, matching my pace. It is said that a dog will emulate their owner, and admittedly, I could be pretty competitive. So I was not surprised to see Art wanted a challenge. Her ears flatten, her body leans forward. She's not just running anymore, she's racing. I up the throttle and she responds immediately, stretching her stride, her tail whipping behind her like a banner of pure determination. And as she glances back at me, her expression seems smug, as if challenging me, asking me if that's really all I got. We tear down the beach. The wind rushing past, the roar of the ocean muffled by our speed. Waves crash nearby, foaming up onto the shore before retreating, but neither of us pay them any mind. Eventually, she starts to slow, her breath starting to come in deep, steady pants, and her tongue hanging out the side of her mouth. And it looks like I finally achieved the impossible, getting this puppy to run out of steam. For all her boundless energy, she loves these moments. Just the two of us. No rush, no distractions. And it was about this time that I noticed the tide was finally starting to draw back. And with Art being provided a well-deserved snack, it's time for me to gear up. It's time to fish. I tie my tried and true setup for catching surf perch, but I am firmly aware that the conditions today require a heavier setup than usual. The ocean is very temperamental, and I know it's going to be rough. And Art gives me a rather befuddled look. She always seems to know something that I don't. Fishing in the surf is always a lesson in humility. Some days, the ocean is generous, offering up fish like an old friend sharing a meal. Other days, it reminds you, in no uncertain terms, that you are a tiny, insignificant speck in the grand scheme of things. Today feels like the latter. The waves churn with an unpredictable, restless energy. One moment, they pull back so far that the ocean seems to be retreating into itself. The next, they surge forward with such force that it makes me take a cautious step back, even in my chest waders. The whole scene looks more like a battlefield than a peaceful fishing spot. The wind howls past my ears, bringing with it the sharp, briny scent of salt spray. For once, the usual squadron of gulls out here were nowhere to be seen, almost like they had insider knowledge I wasn't privy to. Maybe they saw me wading into the surf, rod in hand, and decided they couldn't bear to witness whatever sad display was about to unfold. A fool's errand of the highest order. An idiot standing in the waves, casting hope into a lost cause. I guess even the gulls had enough dignity to sit this one out. The surf is erratic, the rhythm offbeat. Instead of a steady pull and return, it lurches unpredictably. The sea surges with enough force that it nearly takes my balance with it. But like any physics lesson, for every action, there seems to be an equal and opposite reaction. So as far as the sea draws up, it draws back just as far, leaving my fishing setup stranded on the wet sand. And after a couple hours of this fruitless insanity, I finally throw in the towel. And with a sigh, I trudge back to the truck, shaking my head. Message received. The ocean said no. You know, I was hoping for a fish sandwich. It doesn't look like it's happening right now, at least. I'll make myself a BLT. Ah, the 1960s Coleman stove. A relic from a time when things were built to last. Back when cars were tanks, seatbelts were optional, and asbestos was just part of home insulation. I had picked it up thinking I was investing in a piece of rugged, time-tested engineering. Instead, what I picked up was an unpredictable antique with all the charm of a classic car that only runs when you have it in the garage. It was about as useful as a politician during an election year. Great at making promises, but completely incapable of delivering when it actually mattered. And after what seemed to be about a good 30 minutes to get the damn thing going, I just stood there, hands on my hips, staring at it, in that pure, exhausted frustration that comes from realizing you've lost a battle that you never even thought you'd have to fight. Fortunately, I always come prepared, and pulled out my backup propane burner, the real MVP, the trusty, no-nonsense workhorse that actually does its job without drama. And just to make sure the 1960s Coleman stove knew exactly where it stood in this relationship, I set the propane burner directly on top of it. A petty theatrical power move. Did it accomplish anything meaningful? No. Did the stove care? Also no. But in that moment, it wasn't about logic. For all its stubborn defiance, it was now reduced to a mere stage for a real working burner. Poetic justice at its finest. Was I doing this for myself? Absolutely. But in my mind, I'd won. And that's what mattered. Bacon sizzled down, rendering out its liquid gold, which was perfect for sauteing onions and tomatoes. Because today is obviously about making good life choices. The combination of the bacon, the onions, and the tomatoes all cooking together made for an aromatic symphony. The eager anticipation of all this making my mouth water as I watch. And as I stood there watching, I decided I could take this even further than this. The combination of the bacon, sauteed onions, and tomatoes had imbued the bacon grease with a medley of different aromas and flavors. So, what better addition to this trio than adding some eggs to this mix? If you're gonna go all in, you might as well do it right. So on went a slice of American cheese, melting into the eggs like it was sealing my fate. A heart attack? Maybe. Worth it? Absolutely. And because moderation clearly wasn't the theme of the day, I used the leftover bacon grease to toast the buns to a rich golden crisp. At this point, the sandwich wasn't just food. It was a full-scale assault on my arteries. But hey, if you're gonna roll the dice, might as well butter 'em first. And finally, to balance out this glorious heart attack on a bun, I added a single noble piece of lettuce. Nothing says responsible eating like a token leaf buried under half a pound of poor decisions. By the time everything came together, I realized something. I didn't need that fish. This sandwich, this was the meal. No regrets. Maybe. Well, of course, Art gets something. Just take some of the kettle. There. We're going to give her some gourmet because it's eggs. Yep. Sit. There you go. With the tide down low, I grab my clam gun and head towards the surf. The ocean, in an almost spiteful power play, still hurls rogue waves up towards the clam beds as if to remind me that it is still in control. But I have the upper hand now. I don't need to be in the surf. I just need to dig up some clams. Two. There. I get into a rhythm, scan for holes, dig, pull up a clam, repeat. With each successful dig, the satisfaction grows. There is something personally satisfying about harvesting food straight from the earth, putting in the work and seeing the reward. At this point, the clams don't stand a chance. 1 minute they're minding their own business, the next, I'm serving them an eviction notice with a shovel. Squatters' rights? Not today. And unlike everything else that went sideways today, this actually worked out. The shovel bites into the wet sand, and with a quick scoop, another clam is unearthed. Each dig feels like a small redemption arc. A tiny win in a day full of questionable decisions and stubborn gear. Funny how things turn around. Hours of fighting the wind, the waves, and my own equipment, only to find success in the simplest of tasks, digging in the sand.
Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I could get one more. One more.
Sometimes the best moments aren't the ones that you plan for. They're the ones that sneak up on you. And I think this is one of those moments. What a mess I need to clean up. Woo! Alright. Look at some of these guys. These are huge. About the size of a heart. I mean, look at that. We got a couple dinks in there, but I mean, my gosh, I got a whole burger out of these things. That's some solid food. All right. Oh. All right. Next thing to do, get to put these guys in some saltwater rinse. The ocean wasn't giving up any fish, and the stove wasn't in a cooperative mood. But I finally got a win. You know, I think, all things considered, it was a pretty good day. You know, I'm okay, Art. All right. Let's go home. Thanks. As I drive back down the beach, the light starts to fade on the horizon. The ocean, still chaotic and relentless, continues its endless push and pull. It doesn't stop. It doesn't slow down. It just is. Much like today. The fish didn't bite, the stove staged a mutiny, my chair betrayed me in an unprovoked act of violence, and Artemis, well, Artemis spent most of the day as an unguided missile. Not every day goes as planned, but that doesn't mean it wasn't worth it. Sometimes the best moments come when you stop chasing perfection and just roll with whatever the day throws at you. And I smile to myself. Yeah, an almost perfect day.